Zhuozhou may suffer second flood release, water receding expected to take 1 month. Chinese submarine stranded due to heavy rain, video goes viral, public responds with ridicule. Typhoon Khanun approaches, 20-meter huge waves hit Zhejiang waters, over 100 scenic spots closed. Buy one floor, get one floor free, China's real estate decline worsens. Beijing's relentless use of strong medicines is ineffective, China's economy Indiana shock. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Zhuozhou may suffer second flood release, water receding expected to take 1 month. The disaster situation in Zhuozhou, Hebei, is still extremely serious. According to the Boiling Point video report on August 3, the water depth on the scene reached 7 to 8 meters, with some areas as deep as 12 meters. The floodwater almost reached the level of road signs. On August 3, a video circulated on the internet showing a rescue worker recording a message to his family, stating that they had just received a notification to evacuate. The Mafang village area in Zhuozhou might undergo a second round of flood release, so he advised volunteers not to come for the time being. On the same day, CCTV cited Li Na, the deputy director of the Hebei Provincial Water Resources Department, stating that the rainfall had ceased, but the water level in the river would take about a month to recede completely. During this period, around 300 to 400 million cubic meters of water would still need to flow through Zhuozhou. According to Wang Weiluo, a renowned land planning expert, apart from the local water, Zhuozhou was also affected by external floodwaters, including the flood release from Beijing, such as from Fangshan and Mentugu districts, which flowed downstream through the Yongding River. Once these floodwaters entered the underground, like a sponge, they could seep out again, causing the water to emerge on the ground. He explained that under normal circumstances, the river channels would facilitate water passage, but now it depends on whether the water is passing outside the embankments or within the river channels. Although the floods have passed, there will still be water coming in the future. So, according to Wang, the authorities are actually saying the flood discharge will continue for another month, and during this time, you should not return home just because the rain has stopped. Notably, in the context of devastating floods, Ineffective, the Communist Party secretary of Hebei province, called for protecting Beijing, stating that Hebei must act as the guardian of the capital's moat. Meanwhile, Li Guiying, the Minister of Water Resources, also demanded assurance of safety for Xiong'an new area, which led to a hasty flood release. As a result, Zhuozhou and Hebei became a heavily affected disaster area, with the entire city submerged in floodwaters, as we have been reporting recently. Numerous civilians are awaiting rescue, but even the rescue teams were forced to evacuate, bluntly stating, "We can't save them all." The Chinese Communist Party officials' prioritization of protecting Beijing has sparked outrage among Chinese netizens. The most terrifying thing is that Beijing discharges the floodwater, continues to live in luxury cars and mansions, while downstream farmers lose a year's harvest and a lifetime's possessions, only to be compensated with a box of instant noodles. This is sacrificing lives. You will eventually face consequences. Chinese submarine stranded due to heavy rain, video goes viral, public responds with ridicule. Amidst the overwhelming news of heavy rain and floods in the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region of China, a video emerged on Twitter, originally circulated on Douyin, a Chinese TikTok, showing what appears to be a CCP submarine stranded in a muddy marsh, emitting a sound resembling engine trouble as it attempts to move. Near the submarine stands a flagpole displaying the CCP's 5-star flag, and the voice of the person recording the video can be heard saying, "It's a submarine." The uploader of the video speculates that perhaps the floodwaters were responsible for bringing the submarine ashore. Chinese netizens have flooded the comments section with sarcastic remarks. They thought it was landing in Taiwan, turns out it's the Chinese dream. How did they manage to get it on shore? China's top-notch technology, impressive. Just swimming around and ended up on land, or hilarious. One less threat to Taiwan. I'm more excited to see an aircraft carrier washed up in a strange place. However, some internet users have pointed out that the video seems to have been filmed at the Submarine tourism base in Zhejiang district, Taizhou City, Zhejiang province. They are guessing that this could be a decommissioned old submarine, and the current site of the stranded submarine, with a feeling of being stuck in the mud, is believed to have been caused by the mud and water brought ashore by the typhoon. The Twitter account Shi Dynasty has suggested that this is likely a Chinese Navy Type 033 Romeo-class diesel-electric submarine, possibly used for training by the People's Liberation Army Navy, PLA Navy. Currently, the PLA possesses 84 Romeo-class diesel-electric submarines, out of which 13 are designated for training, while the rest have been decommissioned. As for the submarine seen in the video, there has been no official response yet. Nevertheless, the development of the PLA Navy has long been a matter of concern among senior officials in Beijing. Prior to December 2013, the website of the American magazine Wired revealed that the U.S. Navy had conducted a secret evaluation of the CCP's submarines, and the results found that the noise emitted by the Chinese submarines was louder than anyone expected. The article also claimed that assuming China's current submarine design remains unchanged, U.S. submarines would be able to defeat Chinese submarines rapidly in any future conflict. Typhoon Khanun approaches, 20-meter huge waves hit Zhejiang waters, over 100 scenic spots closed. In the context of the aftermath of Typhoon Doksuri, another storm, Typhoon Khanun, has entered the East China Sea and made landfall in Zhejiang at 5 a.m. on August 3. According to reports from various mainland media sources, the maximum wind force near the center was measured at level 15. As a result of the typhoon's impact, there have been heavy to torrential rains in some parts of northern coastal Zhejiang, with scattered short-duration showers or thunderstorms in Shanghai. In some localities, wind speeds might reach levels 11 to 12, and there is a possibility of tornadoes. Moreover, localized heavy rainfall of 100 to 150 millimeters is predicted in northeastern Inner Mongolia, southeastern Heilongjiang, and northern Jilin. The coastal areas of Yuan City and Zhejiang have been hit by waves over 10 meters high. In recent days, coinciding with the astronomical high tide period, enormous waves have been surging continuously in the Shirtang area of Wenzhou City in Zhejiang, reaching heights of over 20 meters. As a result, tourists have been prohibited from approaching the embankments. As of now, Zhejiang has closed 125 A-level scenic spots, suspended 172 high-risk tourism projects, and shut down 16 public cultural venues. The CCP's Ministry of Emergency Management stated on August 2 that there might be 2 to 3 typhoons making landfall on the Chinese mainland in August, posing higher risks of flooding and flood disasters in various regions across the country.
Buy one floor, get one floor free. China's real estate decline worsens. Chinese citizens who have invested the majority of their savings in housing are suddenly realizing that their primary savings are now dwindling assets. Severe housing vacancies exist in some major cities in China. Last month, the sales of the top 100 developers declined by over 28% year-on-year, while in May, they had grown by 6.7%. On August 2, the Nikkei Asian Review reported an advertisement for a piece of land being developed in the outskirts of Tongling, Anhui Province. The ad read, "Buy one floor, get one free." However, a local resident pointed out that even with such a generous offer, the price of 1.45 million yuan, approximately $202,000, is still too high for most people, considering that the average monthly salary in the area ranges from 3,000 to 4,000 yuan, approximately $418 to $557. Even if the price drops further, there still won't be any buyers. The housing slump is just one symptom of the deepening downturn in the Chinese real estate market, and even the higher-ups in the CCP are beginning to acknowledge it. The statement issued after the meeting of the CCP's Politburo omitted the usual phrase "houses are for living in, not for speculation," indicating a deepened awareness of the sluggishness in the real estate market. Real estate and its related industries account for about 30% of China's gross domestic product, GDP, and it is currently putting significant pressure on the Chinese economy. From April to June, seasonally adjusted real GDP grew by 0.8% on a quarterly basis, lower than the 2.2% growth in the first quarter. Some economists now predict that the annual growth rate will be below 5%. Developers like China Evergrande Group, burdened with heavy debt, are not only facing existing financial difficulties but are also hit hard by the government's deleveraging policies. At the same time, by the end of 2022, China's population has started to decline for the first time in 61 years, shifting the real estate market from a shortage to an oversupply. Data from Wind, a Shanghai-based data provider, shows that the number of employees in mainland-listed real estate companies decreased by about 100,000 from around 890,000 at the end of 2021. Meanwhile, the pressures faced by other debt-laden companies are starting to emerge. On July 19, Jiangyin City in Jiangsu Province agreed to acquire an 80% stake in material manufacturer Jiangsu Huaxi Group for only yuan, approximately 14 cents. The company, operated by the local Huaxi village, used to be the economic core of what was once hailed as the wealthiest village in China, running textile and steel mills. In 2011, the group saw tourism as the next major profit driver and built a 328-meter-high, 72-story hotel in the center of Huaxi. However, the hotel has struggled to attract customers in an area lacking tourist attractions and is now essentially abandoned. The latest financial report of Huaxi Group shows that its net assets were about 14 billion yuan, equal to approximately $1.9 billion as of the end of September 2018. After the depreciation of these assets, the local authorities were forced to provide assistance. The financial markets are closely monitoring the risks of local government financing platforms, LGFVs, which are state-owned companies set up to raise funds for local government expenditures. With the significant decline in land use rights sales, an important source of funding, the foundation for local authorities to guarantee the repayment of LGFVs has become unstable. Citigroup estimates that China's total public debt, including interest-bearing debt of LGFVs, is around 108 trillion yuan, over $15 billion, equivalent to about 90% of GDP. Beijing's relentless use of strong medicines is ineffective, China's economy Indiana shock. On August 3, Chinese economic analyst Tang Hao, now living in the United States, made a remarkable analysis of the current Chinese economic situation. According to him, Beijing's relentless use of strong measures is ineffective, and China's economy is in shock. Recently, the Chinese economy is still not optimistic, and various signs indicate that economic conditions are continuously declining. Chinese Caixin Media has just released the Purchasing Managers' Index, PMI, for the manufacturing sector in July, which declined from 50.5 in June to 49.2. The threshold of 50 is the symbolic line between expansion and contraction in the manufacturing industry. In other words, China's manufacturing sector experienced a contraction in July, reaching a new low for the past 6 months. Additionally, the official PMI for the manufacturing sector in July, as announced by the CCP, seems to have risen from 49.0 in June to 49.3 in July. However, it has remained below the threshold of 50, indicating a contraction, for the fourth consecutive month. Even the official PMI data shows that the manufacturing sector is struggling and contracting. Similarly, the Chinese real estate market is also facing a significant downturn, as we mentioned above. There is another warning sign: deflation. Tang said, as he mentioned before, in June of this year, the consumer price index in China showed zero growth, meaning zero inflation. Coupled with the current pessimistic economic data in various sectors, it is likely to lead to reduced investments by businesses and decreased consumer spending, resulting in falling prices, factory production cuts, layoffs, expanded unemployment, and an economic recession. These signs can form a vicious cycle, commonly known as notorious deflation. The things we just discussed are all economic warning signs currently happening in China. Despite the party media releasing good news every day, the CCP itself is well aware that China's economy is facing a serious crisis, big trouble. The major concerns lie in two key areas: the decline of private enterprises and sluggish private consumption. Therefore, the CCP has recently resorted to strong measures. As previously reported, on July 19, the State Council's National Development and Reform Commission introduced the 31 policies for private enterprises to encourage their development. However, on August 1, the CCP came up with the 28 policies for private enterprises, also aimed at promoting investment in private enterprises and stimulating the private economy. However, Tang said even if the CCP introduces the 10,000 measures for private enterprises, it will be difficult to save the private economy if they cannot accomplish three crucial things. The first thing is freedom, including freedom of production, trade, transportation, information, and currency exchange, among others. Because only by loosening government regulations and reducing government intervention and control can private enterprises significantly lower their operational costs and optimize their profit potential. This is the key to truly motivating and empowering private enterprises in their investment and operations. Next, the second issue is credibility. In business, trustworthiness is crucial, and the government's policies should also be credible. Only then can everyone feel secure and reliable, producing goods based on your promised orders, investing in building factories according to your promised policies, and making long-term business plans. Therefore, for the private economy, credibility is the core element that reduces risks. Why is the US dollar recognized worldwide? It's because the US government supports the credibility of the dollar. However, the CCP has never been trustworthy. Just look at the handling of the pandemic measures in the past 2 years, constantly changing and flip-flopping. What was promised yesterday may become a thing of the past tomorrow. With such an untrustworthy government, even if they come up with 10,000 policies for the private sector, they could overturn and deny them all in a few days, leaving businesses without any guarantees. The third issue is the rule of law, which means conducting affairs according to the law and enforcing laws fairly. Why do we need the rule of law? Because for businesses to invest and operate, the most crucial factors are to receive fair treatment and have a stable investment environment. In a true rule of law country, regulations and laws are clear, and everyone just needs to follow the rules of the game. This means everyone starts from a fair starting line, compliance is rewarded, and violations are punished. However, the CCP has always put party above the law and rule of man above the rule of law, so the words of high-ranking officials matter more than any laws or regulations. In such an extreme environment, business operations are difficult to maintain stability. Even if you resort to hidden rules and bribe officials to ensure stable operations, that stability is only temporary. If the official falls from grace or changes political allegiance, not only will they lose their official position, but you may also be implicated and suffer. Why is the private economy struggling to thrive? Why are foreign investors hesitant to invest in China? It's because everyone sees through the fact that the CCP disregards freedom, credibility, and the rule of law, becoming an uncivilized regime. In essence, who would want to do business with gangsters? Today they might sweet-talk you, but tomorrow they could devour you alive. Moreover, the current US-China relations are very tense, and most Chinese companies, as well as foreign investors in China, still need to sell their goods to the United States. On top of that, the global supply chains are being restructured to establish a new supply chain that reduces risks. Therefore, continuing production in China in the future may bring more troubles to business operations. Therefore, freedom, credibility, and the rule of law are the necessary conditions for a true market economy and the fertile ground for cultivating the private economy. If the Chinese government cannot achieve these, no matter how many policies they introduce, they will be ineffective. Therefore, freedom, credibility, and the rule of law are the necessary conditions for a true market economy and the fertile ground for cultivating the private economy. If the Chinese government cannot achieve these, no matter how many policies they introduce, they will be ineffective. The root of all the problems in the Chinese economy lies with the Chinese Communist Party. Or we can say, as long as the CCP exists, any economic rescue measures will only provide temporary relief and cannot address the fundamental issues. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.